What do
Going
you love
down
most?
live on Zor in now too.
What is it
The
that you love most about it?
I like the fact that I don't have to buy a bunch of like atomizers and worry about like preheating it before I like take it apart just right or anything like that.
Right. That's that
Just
one
kind of
you had, Professor. Ain't it?
go.
Yeah, I got one too.
I also like it because I'm a big fan of the Dynavat. So I put that puppy right up in here. I just pow and I warm it up and I get some of the best hits. In all honesty, when it comes to things like keef or ground flour,
Nice.
you know,
Yeah.
So you
I'm trying not to like combust a lot.
Right. Right.
that makes sense.
Compared to the Puffco.
I mean, I've only had the Puffco Peak. I've never had one of the pros. A lot of people say good things about the pro, and it's mainly the atomizer. But like for me, it was always the function that I didn't really like because even if the atomizer worked, I felt like I had to like just sip on it like a little child, just because otherwise I'd either drink or I stuck all the oil into the device.
Right. Right. Right.
This thing, I just feel like I just like rage it all day long and no problem.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What temperature setting do you use this ice fire at?
If I'm doing my Dynavip, I use it at 420. But if I'm doing oil, I got kind of a method, right? I'll actually drop it all the way down to 380, and then I'll double tap it, get it doing its thing, right?
What
And
up,
then
James?
once it beeps, I'll double tap it again. But then that's when I start hitting.
Okay, so you let it do a session and then you run it. You run it through the first session and then you double tap it to make sure.
Then I
doesn't
run it.
That's kind of how I do the Puffco.
I guess that's my experience with it. Is like the first run either does or doesn't make it vape appropriately enough for me, and then I have to press the button again.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the the low and slow get into the flavor, flavor town. If you go too high, you put it like 710 or some shit, it just starts burning right
It's
away.
just
You're like,
burning.
oh, this is
Yeah.
bad.
Right.
Yeah, it just burns out the meds at that point.
Yep.
You don't want to burn the meds up. You want to use
No.
them things.
Turn the meds to mids.
Meds to
Turn the
meds.
meds to meds. No.
No, thank you. No, thank you, sir.
No, we don't want to turn our meds to meds. No.
Hell no.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, so I've actually been trying to find a finesse to that iSpire unit because it's new for me. So using it, I'm still getting kind of used to how to work it.
Yeah, and I never take the cap off. I use my Brian Sheridan cap. It's a little bit better design. It's a nice big fatty on here, right? So it fits right, but it doesn't dive as deep down in there and get all dirty.
Hell yeah.
It's about half the depth.
Yeah, I have noticed that the carb cap gets a bit oily at the tip because it's a little too long.
And it's just because, like, here's the thing. The nature of these devices, when they're developed and designed, because I have some experience with that, obviously, they're just kind of like, hey, we made something that works. But, I mean, if you ever met, like, a lot of the I'm not trying to be, whatever. But, you meet a lot of the Asian people that I've met, and they don't smoke like we smoke. They smoke like casual,
Right.
And a lot of them don't smoke. They smoke nicotine, right? So they've been using these devices like pseudo nicotine devices.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You smoke
not
nicotine out of one of them?
That's how they test them.
That would hurt.
Yeah,
Because they
it's
don't
just
have
gross.
any other option. They'll just use PG, just straight non-flavored e-juice even.
Just to see if it vapes up.
Yeah. And so that's how they test this shit. And then they send it to people in the U.S., right? And they go, all right, hey, we developed this program, this platform. We want you to take your business and make it yours, right? So it's all white label. All of it's white label.
Right.
iSpire, they are a manufacturer, but these are like their demo products. This is like, hey, this is what we're capable of doing. But if you call us, we'll make something for you. We would prefer not to make any of this shit, but we want you to know we can. And so that's kind of how I got involved with Terp Logic, right? So like, I've got 100,000 of these motherfuckers of my very own branded cartridges, specialized pods designed to my specification and everything.
Nice.
But the same company makes hardware for AVD.
Nice.
So, like, when it all comes down to it, you got a company like AVD, which is a US-based company, but this company is the Chinese company making it for AVD. AVD is just marketing it. They're just figuring out all the shit. Whoa! I just saved a lot of glass.
Don't break the glass. Save the glass.
Look at all the stuff that's in my lap right now. This all fell. You know, AVD is like a marketing company where they're like saying like, hey, here's the features of this product, because the people in China just don't know how to fucking explain it or sell it. They don't have any of the sales team over here or nothing.
Right.
So when we see these smaller booths of these Asian companies at these trade shows that none of them speak English, those are like your startups. Eventually those companies, you'll never see them, but they'll be somebody else but bigger, right?
Right.
Like the cool thing is everyone from AVD is just the people who really came over from China who know English really well and wanted to come here for a job and wanted to live this dream and not really be in China no more, right?
Right.
So they start their company and they kind of work that work because they know how to talk to people in China. So it's easy logistics. But again, those people still aren't really like us. You know, and I hate to say it like that, but like they're just not our community.
Right.
Every time I get a product from somebody's like, man, this thing rips, and you hit it, and you're like, bro, what do you do at home? You like sip a glass of wine and take a puff off a vape pen and pass the fuck out?
Yeah.
You know?
Because they think it's working better than it really does.
I get my device in. I talk to this one dude who works with this people in China. They can convey the info that I want. And now everybody who tries a Terp Logic pod, it's a disposable with a battery. All the guesswork's taken out. That's why we do it like that. Right. I don't like removable pods because a lot of that still requires lots of manufacturing, and then you're shipping a bunch of units still, and they're heavier. So you got CO2 emissions from the jet, frequent trips, shit like that, right? All that stuff. Then people are still gonna lose them. People are gonna steal them. Shit's gonna end up in the garbage no matter what. I got a recycle program, all that. If you can get a pod back to me, I can make sure that it doesn't end up in a landfill, you know?
Right.
Shit like that. But the people who buy it have to be, you know, part of the program, and it's on them. You know, I can't be like, hey, I'll give you $1 off each one. No, I'm actually going to go and take apart each one myself and do the labor to recycle it.
Right.
You know, I'm paying myself the $1. You want to come through and work for me, I get you a job taking apart pods all day, you know?
Yep.
But I can separate the weed from the battery and then take the battery to an electronics recycle company that'll take care of it and dispose of it right.
Nice. Really?
And that's a non-profit company. I just give them the battery. They let me write it off on my taxes then. So it's win-win.
Hell yeah, that's smart.
That's what's up.
Good job.
Right? And then, like, let's say you get a company in Colorado or Chicago. Let's say Chicago, right? Like Cresco or whatever. They start buying my pods. They get all those pods and recycle them themselves. They can find a company in Illinois that'll fucking do the same thing, and then they can write off their pods as a donation.
Speaking of Illinois, are you coming out here for Champs?
I want to so bad to promote Terp Logic because I feel like that would be a hot item.
For sure.
You know, people need solid hardware, and that's the other thing. Like, I've worked out all the bugs. Like, I created my own voltage profile so that it gets colder as you hit it longer and shit like that, so it doesn't get hot on your mouth the whole time. You can hit it back to back to back. You gotta hit like 9 hits before the thing is warm on your lips.
That's dope.
Yeah, a part
That's
part
dope
of
as
like
fuck.
hitting a lot of cartridges and pods is that they do kind of burn up towards the end of the hit.
Yep. And then like the ones that are self draw, they clog and they don't work right, and you're like sitting there going trying to get the clog out of it, right? I fixed that problem too. You triple tap the bottom of it on the USB port and it preheats.
You're done.
Bam, no issues ever. That's just, but that's just the hardware game. Like, none of it's really, the only brands that do well are the ones that aren't actually making the products at all. They're just marketing. Like Puffco. Like, Roger wants to say that he developed all this stuff. It's all rip-off stuff from a company that made it for him in China. He just marketed it really well. Like, a water bottle that you could smoke weed out of and a coffee cup you can smoke weed of are the only two products beyond a hot knife that he's created.
Damn.
But he's a genius that created the Puffco. Come on. He came out with 3 inferior products to his first product.
They're known for stealing ideas.
Right. And that's just it, and if they can market it just like Apple, right? Like the iPad, iPod, all that shit. Like, they own MP3 world, but they didn't make the MP3 at all.
Right.
That had nothing to do with it.
Marketing a bad motherfucker, man.
Yeah. All the people who started MP3, they went out of business. They got bought by Apple. 100%.
It's crazy because like I use the Puffco, probably one of the most like actively used portable devices I have right now, only because of the sheer consistency and like the size of it. It just kind of delivers.
Size is number one.
You know what I'm saying? It delivers what you need, kind of like almost anywhere. It's just good for traveling, honestly. It's good for somebody who dabs a lot, who needs to dab and they travel. Like, it's not something I like to sit at home and hit though. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I will use it at home if like I'm being super lazy and I don't feel like torching some shit up and I just don't feel like walking upstairs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm watching a movie or I'm about to go to bed. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just hit this bitch in bed. The iSpire for me is a little newer. So I haven't gotten in a consistent regimen with using it, but my experience with it is it's just a little cumbersome. And for the portability about it, I love it, but it's a tad bit bigger than the Puffco. And so you have to carry it in the case that they give you. Otherwise, I don't know. You just don't want to break the parts because it does have a lot of glass. It's
right.
More glass than most portable devices, actually.
Right, and it's intricate glass too. So
see this bitch.
The agreement is there as well. It's more of an at-home device for me, and then because of my pods, that's what I hit when I'm out and about. I really just kind of, if I can't get a pod or a real dab from a homie while I'm out, I just kind of don't smoke now.
It's got a lot of glass.
Yeah.
So like it's got the carb cap, it's got the your main water bubbler. It's got the heating bowl, and then it's got the little drop buckets. And these can break too. I've already broken like 2 of these. So
did you drop them or?
One was dropped. One had gotten like super sticky, I guess, and like just like it got stuck and ended up like just cracking when I tried pulling it out.
The only time I've broken mine is dunking them in the ISO when they were super hot as fuck.
Okay, so they are fragile. I mean, it is something you would have to replace.
If I Wait.
and that's not as stable as you think. Like it is, like you can hold it, but
See,
you
I think
can't.
mine's a little
You
different. Mine's a little different. Like I gotta give it a pretty good wiggle.
yeah, you definitely. I don't want to do that. Like it'll come
No.
off if I give it that. Yeah, see, if I give it that little with the Puffco,
The Buffco, oops, shit. The Buffco, you can wiggle, y'all.
this motherfucker, like
You can wiggle. You can
wiggle,
wiggle,
wiggle. Like
You
that's
can
you know,
wiggle the
so
Buffco.
there's just a little bit different finessing that they've done with the two different devices. Now everything is
Right.
what's crazy is everything has to compete with Puffco that comes out in that lane now
Right.
because they were the first good one. I would
Right.
say. You know what I'm saying? They were the first good one, and I was fully supporting their shit in the beginning. So and knowing that, you just kind of
I mean, I do remember one day where you had a pretty mad video about a Puffco.
yeah, I've had my share. I mean, they've stolen my idea. They stole a product from me. They didn't want to work with me. They didn't want to pay me basically. I was like, yo, I got this idea for a product. Let's do it. And they're like, no, we don't think we can do that. It takes a lot of R&D and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, they were just kind of waiting to fucking steal the idea and then make it themselves so they didn't have to pay me. Because they ended up making the little lanyard that your Puffco sits in. That idea originally came from me. I was the first one to ever put my Puffco in a koozie and throw it around my neck. I was walking around hella festivals with it. And yeah, so I did have a little salty video with them, but it's just because I like to keep shit real, like in 100. Like, why not work with people who are trying to better your brand? If I'm out here with all these ideas trying to make a brand better than it is already, why you wouldn't put me on board to potentially grow your business one and make decisions that could potentially make your product even better than anything that's out there. These companies are a little confused in that area, and they
don't want to pay you.
They don't want to pay me, and it's okay. The right ones will, and that's why you only
gotta make a Professor Dab device.
I mean, I got devices that are coming. The one glass piece is already in production, so that's already coming out. Once people see that you can actually do something and have it in a store, then they really start paying attention. You know, I can have all these prototypes in the world over here and pitch some ideas to companies, but they're like they basically just want to know if it can sell before they even fuck with it.
Right.
Man, that's the motherfucking first thing you hear about on the Shark Tank is how much money are you making right now?
How much money have you made? How many sales have you gotten?
And if you ain't got no sales, you have the patent.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's just like, you know, you got to know that part of the game, and I gotta understand the lane that I'm in and just maneuver and continue to maneuver the way I have been and keep changing circles whenever possible to level up.
And don't stop working.
You
don't stop fucking working.
If a motherfucker wants to take on the idea, they will. Yeah. So
I plan on being the largest American-based designer and brand of vape products from the U.S. Now, I'm not saying we're going to make them here, you know, just like Apple, you know, whatever. We're going to do what we can. I would love, and I'm trying to figure out how to do work in Mexico, right? I want to create Mexican jobs in Mexico, right? And give them good money and shit, right? So I feel like that's a little more attainable to do like a factory out there somewhere than it is in the U.S. So let's go, right?
A buddy of mine would tell you to do that because he has a factory in Mexico he kind of works with when he needs to.
Yeah.
Right, you know, and that's the thing. So like when things pick up, man, like when we're ready to do the next level on shit, yeah, you know there's gonna be some Professor Dab's hardware coming out. 100%. Like I'll be working with all y'all motherfuckers, be like, let's go, let's see. Cause you know what? Also, when I started Terp Logic, like each one of my things is $2.75 for me cost, right? In the first month I give over 1,000 units just so people can try it and make sure that it's fucking as awesome as I say it is. You know, you call a company and be like, yeah, send me a couple samples of your pods or your vapes or whatever, and they send you 2 or 3. No, I send a motherfucker 50.
Right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm not playing, so you better not be playing, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? We all talk the same talk in the lingo, so you already know that I smoke like a real boy.
Right.
He said, "I smoke like a real boy."
Yeah.
Like a real one.
Yeah, the problem in some of this
Doing.
is a lot of the investors in this industry, they don't smoke, or they don't partake in the culture, so they don't understand um certain aspects of it. That's what I've come to realize. You know, you'll talk to certain people and then they're not really a smoker, and then they don't really understand the culture. They don't understand the culture enough. So it's like we gotta do our job kind of twice as hard with them, because you gotta educate them on the culture and where it's going, for one, and then you gotta pitch whatever it is that you're trying to sell to them, basically.
You want to see something classic right there?
What's that right
What are
there?
those dab tabs?
Old school.
That shit, man, that shit was a bust.
You know what? And it's because they tried to put it out to dabbers. And these guys, granted, if you're gonna do that, you got to do 2 things. A, you got to put high quality oil on it. You can't be using boo boo. And number 2, you gotta show people and give them away, right? And the fact that they never let people buy their own empty ones and tell people how to make them was probably the number 1 reason why they busted.
You know
I
what?
feel like if they would have made it something that you could buy online with a little kit, people would have been putting their own oil in and not giving a fuck, because they'd be like, oh, this is my oil, blah, 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 or the oil I bought from the store, shit like that.
What was your favorite way to use those?
HTFSE with the high terpene shit. That's what's in here right now. This is like super ultra terpy blend stuff. So I smoke these all the time, actually, because otherwise my high terpene stuff actually evaporates, right? Not here. Melts in your banger, not in your hand, not in your pocket, nowhere else. The technology's fantastic, honestly. It's just, motherfuckers didn't listen to me either when I told them how and where to put it. You go to the East Coast, these things are hot still. But it's in the areas where there's people who don't know a lot about cannabis, so they're learning this product along the things they're learning, so it's on their level.
So it's like on their level of like, I can do this because like
Right.
it's
But if you
new.
go give this to somebody who takes fat globs because that's what they've been doing for the last year, they don't understand this and they think it's too small. But then you still got the same people selling them, not telling them that they can put more than one in too. It's just a way to measure it. That's really what it was. It was like, okay, how do you quantify what a dab looks like? Every container says there's 20 servings in a container. All right, cool. Well, they took a gram and shoved as many of these things in there until the gram disappeared and found out it took 20 of them.
Damn.
Bam. Now you can take a serving. That's all it is. It's, and like, same thing. You drink a Mountain Dew, it's got 2 servings in it. If somebody went and gave you the half can, you'd be like, that's not enough for me.
Right.
But no, you can still drink a bigger can or put more in your cup.
The funny thing about the dab tabs is every time I show somebody my space hits,
I'm like, actually, like, y'all just don't fucking understand.
Influencer type of, you know what I mean?
Right. Like an entrepreneur.
Almost like an entrepreneur, exactly. And those are the kind of, that's the kind of lane that I kind of feel like I fall into. I don't need to prove myself of how much I smoke, or the type of lungs that I have on me, because most of the time people don't really want to try to play the game that I play when it comes down to that type of shit. And so I kind of got over needing to feel like I needed to prove myself to certain folks. And then I also wanted to separate myself from people who are just trying to smoke on the gram and shit, because they're sitting at a completely different table at the end of the day. And I don't want to sit at that table, because that table is not the table of longevity and progression. Like, I think some of these people aren't trying to figure out what are you in here for? How long are you doing this for? And I think a lot of the influencers that they think they are today, these clout chasers, they don't realize that they're creating a short career path for themselves, because they don't really have a long career plan with what they're doing.
Right. I agree.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I separated from that portion of the